I
All right,
agree.
the podcast has already started.
I figured.
Yeah.
I was hoping.
So my friend Stephen Foster is here with Foster Creative. Why don't you give me like the elevator pitch of what you guys do at Foster Creative?
Yeah. So, well, Foster Creative is my wife Candace and I. We're Candace and Stephen Foster, and we are wedding and elopement photographers and videographers.
That's it.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, but you guys aren't just like regular wedding photography. You guys are pretty extreme.
Well,
You guys are doing a lot of like rugged mountain weddings, hiking, packing gear out.
Yeah, we do some snazzy weddings. I mean, like, I grew up in Grand Junction, Colorado. For those who don't know where that is, it's far western Colorado on I-70 near Utah. It's desert country, but it's also where desert meets mountain. And I had a really wonderful father growing up who took me, adventuring all the time. On the weekends, we'd go skiing, hiking, camping, searching for arrowheads, which I have learned maybe leave the native artifacts now. But we used to go, hunt arrowheads.
Yeah.
And man, we just always had a good time. And then I ended up going away to school in the Midwest, missing Colorado, learning some video skills, and deciding to come back to Colorado and practice those skills like in the mountains, in the desert, and
Yeah.
kind of doing what I love. And then my wife, I'm very fortunate. She is like entrepreneurial like me, so she was like, teach me what to do, and so she comes along on those adventures a lot of the time.
I do. Okay, I want to touch more on Grand Junction. I don't think I've ever been. I think I've driven through Grand Junction. I haven't spent a lot of time there. It's a pretty small community. It's not that big, right?
No, it's not very big. I think like as my dad would call it, the Tri-City area, which is Junction, Fruita, and Palisade, is maybe 150,000. So
Okay.
it's like it's big enough to
It's
where
kind of got everything you need.
Yeah, it's got like the only mall between.
Does it have a movie theater
It has like
and a bowling
at
alley?
least two.
Okay. Yeah.
But back in the day, it had like three or four. But,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Theaters aren't doing as good as they used to. But for me,
no.
it's like if you have a theater, then that kind of means you probably have like kind of everything you need.
Yeah.
You can always drive. Is it closer to go to Salt Lake?
What?
How far is Salt Lake from there?
It's almost equidistant, really.
Okay.
Like driving. It's about 3.5, 4 hours from Denver, and about the same from Salt Lake, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 4 hours to get to a major metro area.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
I mean, living in Junction, going to Denver was the big deal. And really, I mean, we were the biggest town they are the biggest town on the Western Slope.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's
Durango's
it's
kind of
isolated.
popping off. Is that considered the Western Slope?
Oh, it is. And I almost mentioned Durango, although it's still very small, but Durango is awesome. And I love going down there.
Yeah. My buddy has a property down there, and he's talking about how much it's growing and how it's kind of popping off.
It really is.
Kind of the cool, hip, new Colorado town, it seems.
No, I mean, I'd say Durango is, I mean, if I was going to live in a nice town on the Western Slope,
yeah,
I'd pick Durango.
Oh, really? Over Grand Junction?
Yeah.
Does your mom still live in Grand Junction?
She does, yeah. Okay. My mom and my dad's family
okay.
over there. My dad's family is like I'm fifth generation. Western Slope, Colorado, and they migrated in the 1800s to mine gold.
That's so cool. So you can trace your heritage all the way back to like late 1800s.
Yes, my dad, and I take after him in a lot of ways, and he was just very into our history and into history in general. And, I mean, I can't verify this, but he was pretty convinced that there was Foster, then Forestarius at the signing of the Magna Carta. But, that's another story for another day. But yeah, we know our history like pretty well. And they lived a very hard life for 50 years mining gold and near Durango, actually above Telluride, Colorado, in a ghost town called Tomboy.
Okay. Dude, that's so cool that you know that. I don't have any family history like that. Very little. I go back to like my great grandparents, and that's about it,
Yeah, no, and I mean, I feel very fortunate. I mean, it's like, I think it's romanticized in a lot of ways.
Sure.
Because,
I imagine
yeah,
mining for gold was not an easy life.
No, it was horrible. I think, I sometimes wonder, growing up, going to Telluride and those mountains all the time, I wonder, like, what did my family think the first time they laid eyes? Because they pioneered from Indiana in the
Oh
1800s.
God! So coming into the Denver and seeing the Rocky Mountains,
I know, and I
that
mean,
had to just blow their minds.
and I wonder because, like, I feel, I do feel like a spiritual connection to the land, and
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say that like I'm native, or anything like that. I'm
You're
not.
about, I mean, you're
That's
about
not
as
what I'm
native
saying.
as, oh yeah, not,
Like a
not
Native American,
No,
it's
no.
not in that way, but it's just like, it's just home, and like
Yeah.
when I'm there, I feel home, and I do take a lot of pride in that,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's pretty cool,
Nice.
but yeah, and okay, I guess we can probably cut there to somewhere else.
There's no cuts. There's no cuts. It's just, we'll figure it out.
Got
I do want to ask you, because you grew up very religious.
Yes, I
Yeah.
did.
So can you tell me a little bit about that? Because I don't know. I also grew up religious, and I grew up Baptist, but I don't know a lot about Adventist.
Well, growing up Baptist, I can tell you there's a lot they have in common. There's a lot that's different, but it's very fundamental, like evangelical Christianity, which I mean, I think I've never been a Baptist, but probably relatable.
You get the idea.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So uh, my mother was diagnosed with a mental illness when shortly after I was born, and she prayed to God shortly before the diagnosis that the Lord would like show her what's wrong and why she doesn't feel well. And she says about a week later, she was diagnosed with a mental illness and then decided to give her heart to the Lord. And so when I was 3 years old, my mom converted myself and I to Adventism.
Okay. You didn't have a lot of say in that at 3, I imagine.
No, and I mean, formative years, but I do remember a little bit about it. I do remember having better times with like my parents' friends. And then, when my mom converted, it, it caused a schism in my parents' relationships. And so then it was like, well, there's like my mom and her church world, and that's part of my world, a big part, the largest part of my world. And then there's my dad, who like was just your average normal, blue white collar guy. He was in construction most of his life, but for the last like 30 years he was in construction management, doing like project management type roles for like commercial construction.
So your home was kind of fragmented then.
Yeah.
You kind of lived two different lives with two different.
I feel
but
like
your
my
parents were married the whole time.
They were, and I think they loved each other, and they would say they loved each other, but after my mom converted, it was never the same. And that's something I struggle with a little bit.
Do you have siblings?
But no,
Okay.
no. Sometimes I wish I do, but
I think
sometimes wish
everyone
don't.
who has siblings wishes they didn't, and everyone
Right?
who doesn't wishes they did.
I know, that's why
We
I say
all want what
yeah.
we didn't have, right?
It'd be nice to understand what it's like on
Sure.
the other side. I think is
As an adult with siblings, I love my siblings. I think that's the sweet spot, is when you get to be an adult, and if you're close with your siblings. Like when you're a kid, you just fight.
Yeah.
So,
One thing I will say, like, I do wish I had siblings that could relate to me and on all the things,
your life experiences.
Yeah, like on all, and I do have like really wonderful cousins, like the Huber family. This was like my dad's best friend's family, and after my dad passed away, they took me in, and I love them to death, and I can talk with them about it. But for reasons like that, it would be nice to have someone be like, what do you think about when this happened, and like how does that made you feel, and like just
Yeah.
I'm 30, okay, so I'm like not old, but I'm old enough to wish that I could have some conversations like
Sure.
that.
Yeah, shared life
guess.
experiences are important. I think I talk to my brother and sister often. I'm like, am I making this up, or did this really happen? And we're like, no, that happened. Like, okay, I'm not crazy. Like, okay. And
Yeah.
we both experienced that together. So it is nice. It is nice to have that. And they 100% like get where you're coming from, and you can make fun of the crazy things that your parents did when you were a kid, and stuff. So it is good in that regard. So
I guess the other side of my experience with being a Seventh-day Adventist, I would say half of that experience was my formative years as a child. And then the other half is more like my college experience, because I ended up actually going to an Adventist college for most of my education in Lincoln, Nebraska. That's when I moved to the Midwest.
So you graduated high school what year?
2011.
Okay. And then
Yeah.
you moved to Lincoln, Nebraska to go to, it was a Christian school.
I moved to Junction for a year and did school in Junction before I went there. But yeah, basically I did most, and then I stayed there for the rest of my degree.
Okay.
And that was, I kind of have like mixed feelings on that because I did go to a small religious college. It was a Bible college in a lot of ways. I mean, they're accredited, and I mean, I'm not like I had a good education there.
Yeah.
I did because I went to public university as well, and I can compare it, and
Sure.
they're all right.
Well, I had a very similar experience. First year, I went to like a commuter university. It was a university, but it's kind of like where all the college.
Yeah, but like same with Junction.
And then after my freshman year, I went to a private Christian school.
That's so crazy. Years. Yeah, because I basically had a very similar experience to that. So
very different experiences. Very different.
Well, at your school, did they have like
them.
curfews and stuff at your school?
Oh, yeah.
Did they have rules about dorms?
Yes.
Oh man, sometimes I feel like I'm the only one who.
No, I can relate 100% on that. Yeah.
That's what's whack, right? Like that's so stupid. It's dumb. And
I understood the purpose of them, I get why they have that. Hindsight, it kept me out of a lot of trouble, maybe. You know what I mean?
Oh no, I still got in trouble just in like stupid ways that like wouldn't have happened if they would have let us be ourselves.
See, I was getting in trouble a lot like when I was like 18, when I was a freshman, because I didn't have any boundaries. And so I think I was a late bloomer. I matured late. And so I think having those boundaries actually probably prevented me from having a lot of fun that I could have had, but it also prevented me from making stupid mistakes before I was like mature enough to understand what I was doing.
I guess that's maybe a bonus of growing up with like the parental dynamic I had. Cause like my dad, he drank and he was always a good role model and influence and like was never, so I got to see like on one hand, like the fundamental Adventists were like, all drinking is bad. Like you're an alcoholic, like you're going to hell, you're going to beat your wife. Like, and then on the other hand, it's like, no, my dad is a good man and he doesn't do that. And like, so like, I feel like I was blessed because I think, a lot of kids when they grow up in sheltered households with absolutely no guidance on that, we have terms for them, right? They're I'm not going to say any of them, but like you can go too hard without realizing it. You can like really get yourself in trouble. But like, I was like, I understood balance and like, so I was able to like,
I just don't think I was mature enough to, now I am, you know what I mean? Now I have good balance in my life, but I just didn't understand. I didn't have the maturity yet. Like I said, I was a late bloomer. I always have been. So I'm slow to learn.
Me too.
All right. So you had this kind of, you grew up going to church 6 days a week, and then on Sundays you got to hang out with your dad, get out in the wilderness, experience, and that's where a lot of your passion for the outdoors comes from. Right?
Absolutely, yeah, all of it, totally.
And then your passion for video kind of developed later in life. So you were you didn't pick up a camera until you were in college.
That's right. Yeah. So that's why I say like there's two sides to my Adventist education. There's like growing up and through doing the motions. And then when I got to college, like I was like myself in an Adventist environment, but like I was coming into myself like in an Adventist environment. So like at that time, like
every college,
I would go party on the weekends, like, but I was also, very responsible and kept myself busy with, my first job on campus was in the marketing communications department. And that's...
How did you get that job? Because you didn't have any experience, right?
Okay, I had like very little. I didn't mention this, but like I did like CMU TV, which is like Colorado Mesa University, that the college I went to the first year. It was like their like on campus TV. It's stupid, it's dorky, but it was great, and I made like a lot of friends. And and I used
just enough experience to get the next job.
I used like bulky Panasonic cameras from 2005 that had just switched over. I mean, they still had like
they're shooting 720.
They can do CF cards or like tape. So it's like on the cusp of digital. But and that was it. And I remember even walking in and I got the job because I walked in and told them I wanted it, and there were not a lot of students. They didn't have like a film degree. They had like a photography degree, but I mean, anyway, the school didn't have a strong like visual component aspect to it, and I was interested, and so they were like, sure, all right, yeah, come on in. It's minimum wage, $7.25 an hour. I'm like, let's do it.
Perfect.
And like
That's what my skills are worth at this point.
oh
so
yeah,
that's
no.
great.
Well, the first day I walked in and they handed me the camera, I was like, "Oh, what is this called?" They're like, "A DSLR." What's that?
Oh yeah.
I was green as you can get, but I started shooting on Nikons, and I would do promotional videos for the college.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Shooting like sports and stuff like the college teams.
I do like sports. I would do interviews with like they had like a little studio with like an infinity wall. So, we'd make like snappy videos with the students. And
was there a specific project or a moment when you were like, I'm actually kind of good at this?
yeah, that's a good question. And, I think there is. So near the end, well, on the backside of my sophomore year, I'd probably been shooting video for like 6 months. And this guy who I thought was really cool on campus, his name, I hope he listens to this. His name is Zach Post.
Okay.
But
we'll tag him.
I thought he was,
add him, Justin.
I thought he was super cool. I thought he was so funny. Anyway, like I was walking somewhere on campus one day and he walks up to me and goes, "Hey, you do video, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, sweet. So me and my friend Jared are like, we want to recreate this like 80s music video for talent show, but like we want to like make a music video and then we're going to like play the saxophone and drums on stage. You want to make the video?" I'm like, "Dude, let's do it."
Sounds awesome.
And I had like a 1994 Oldsmobile Cutlass Sierra. Like, I hope y'all can like envision that. Like, it's a boat. It's an old boat, man.
Sure.
And like, but it was kind of perfect for, a no budget like production. So we drove to like the top of a parking garage in Lincoln, Nebraska in the Cutlass Sierra. And Zach's wearing a red women's cut suit, like jacket, pants with like this like mullet blonde wig. And like sunglasses, and he gets out with his saxophone in the car and just like and that's how it started.
Perfect.
And
any lights?
No
light headlights.
No. We just did like no. I didn't have. I don't think I knew it enough to But like I had like a gimbal and it was a Steadicam. I had a Steadicam and a Nikon.
We're talking like 2014.
No, this is like 2012.
Oh, okay.
No, 2013. Okay. Yeah, 2013. Right. And we just did this no budget. Like we just walked around downtown doing all these cuts.
Does this exist anywhere online?
I'm gonna find it.
Okay, all right.
I know it does, and oh man, I do need to find it. It's amazing. Yeah. So I made this thing, and then like our friend Tim Labard, like he like messed around with beat boards and stuff. And so they had Tim recreate the beat for the song without the saxophone and drum.
Okay.
And then we went on stage at the Union College 2013 talent show that absolutely no one cares about except for like maybe 100 students.
Yep.
And we killed it. We absolutely killed it. I would remember I was sitting behind the judges.
Performance of a lifetime.
Yeah, I was sitting behind the judges, and they were like kicked back in their chair laughing, and I'm like, okay, we got it. Like, and we won $50,
Heck
and like, but man, that's like one of my favorite memories. That was like when I was like, okay, this is too much fun. I got to keep doing this.
So you keep doing that through college, and then when did you start your business? Was it right after college?
Well, I mean, okay, it's gray area. It's a hard answer because I started Foster Creative in college, but it wasn't
what it
the
is.
company that, like it was like I just decided to make a brand, and I liked my name. I got a lot of pride in my name.
It's a good name.
My grandfather was highly entrepreneurial. Like he was like the first generation Foster who didn't mine gold. He mined uranium actually. Ooh. And it was like our own claims, and made a lot of money in like 20 years, like mining uranium. Unfortunately, that is what took my grandfather as well. That's why I say don't romanticize. Like everyone dies young in the Foster family. I'm going to change that, but he was very entrepreneurial with like the last 30 years of his life. Okay. And he owned like,
So you're kind of carrying on that spirit.
yeah. So, I've got pride in that. So I made Foster Creative, and all it was freelance graphic design and videography mainly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when did you film your first wedding?
I filmed my first wedding, I want to say I want to say like 2015.
Okay.
And I was still in college. I was a senior, and like a couple of my friends who were getting married from college were like, "Hey, you should like film our wedding." And I was like, "No." Like, good one. And they're like, "No, you should." And I'm like, "Okay, but like why are you asking me to do that? I have no experience doing that." And it's like a pretty important moment and day.
Like, I'm definitely going to screw this up.
Yeah, like why? And they're like, "No, like we trust you, man. Like you're really good at what you do." And they buttered me up, and I was like, "Okay." And then they're like, "We'll give you $1,000." And I was like,
done.
All
So,
right,
I'm
that's
in,
say
I'm in.
less. So, yep. And so I shot their wedding, and you actually asked me in prepping for this interview to share it, and I'm not going to do that. And I love, and I'm happy to talk about it, but like I just would rather not be associated with, it's
That's fine.
it's a fine video, but it's absolutely not what we do.
Well, it's so
with
long
Foster
ago.
Creative now.
Right. So, so I have Future Fox, and then we have Ampersand Family, which is like our wedding brand. And we're not doing very many weddings. We're doing, I think we have 6 this year. And we were talking about like, is this something that we want to, it's a question of whether we want to keep doing it or not. And so, for the time being, I still really enjoy shooting weddings, and it's the editing that's the hard part. So
Yeah.
now that I have Justin, he does most of the editing, which is great.
Justin.
He's killing it. Well, he's got to a point now where he's like better than I am. So I'm like, well, it doesn't even make sense for me to edit this wedding because Justin can do it better. So,
Well, that's a good point. What do you mean by that? Like, all right, so I love that you kind of just said
because
that.
I think we have opposite views on this. I don't think one's necessarily 100. I think it's right for whatever you want. So you guys do everything in house, right?
Yes.
And you guys are big on that. That's part of the Foster creative experience.
It is. That's
you're
actually
getting
right.
video
Yeah.
and photo, and it's all in house. You're not outsourcing anything. So like you're taking these and seeing it all the way through to completion.
Yes.
I would say mine's the exact same way because Justin is part of Ampersand Family. So I would say in a lot of ways it's the exact same. I've tried to outsource wedding edits before, and I'm always disappointed. They feel like they don't have a soul. I'm like, whoever edited this didn't care. You know what I mean? It was just kind of slapped together. The colors are never good. It's like it doesn't have the heart that it should. And like we're really big on like having like emotions in the video. Like really like that's what I'm looking for. Like even I always tell my clients, I'm like, even if the shot is shaky, if I catch a tear rolling down the face, it's going to be in the video because that's what I like. That's what I care about. I want people to feel something when they watch the video.
Yeah.
I don't want them to look at it and be like, wow, this looks like a Hollywood movie. I want them to like feel something.
Right.
And so I guess in a way, now that I'm thinking about it, now that we kind of talked it through, it is the same because I don't outsource it to just like
That's totally the
someone on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
It's just that he's sitting next to me and I trained him and taught him exactly our style and what I'm looking for. And he took that and put his own creative touches on it and made it better. So I think that, probably a lot like you and Candace do, bouncing off of each other, it makes for a better end product for our clients. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I agree to everything that you said. And I think that, I'm going to say like, people who hire, and I'm going to talk mainly to film, like filmmakers or videographers for their wedding, and they hire a company that outsource. By no means are they getting a bad product. They're getting a great product. Like
Sure.
as long as whoever is leading that project, as like, I would say usually the lead creative is the lead videographer. As long as like they're seeing their vision through, and like as long as they have the skills and the ability to go in and make any edits or corrections to like a movie that was outsourced, that's kind of what you need.
Yeah.
I mean,
I always get those project files back.
yeah.
And
I mean, I would say beware. I'd say like a good question for like, if you're hiring a photo and video company or a video company, like ask them like, tell me about your editing. Like, do you guys edit in house? Like ask them like what their process is, and just like hear them talk and like, ask them like, okay, like what about, revisions. Like, do they do that? Do you have the ability to do that? Because, there are companies and where like videographers completely outsource 100% of like their edits, and they may have like the ability to shoot video, but they don't have the ability to edit it. And, that's problematic. And I think that's problematic in our industry, honestly, because, you know, it's very, it's very hard to create a good, meaningful, emotional film, like when there's disconnect between like the shoot vision and the editing vision.
The editor wasn't there. They don't know the footage intimately. They don't know the couple intimately.
Yeah, they don't know the relationship between the bride and her mother who just lost her husband, right? Like, they don't know,
And you can tell them a lot of that stuff, but it's hard to communicate all of that. You know what I mean? Everything that you experienced on the wedding day, and all the moments that you captured, it's really hard to communicate that to an editor.
You can write it down.
You can write it down,
but
you're going to miss things. You're going to forget things. And
I think that's the opportunity in like being able to edit your own work. And the way that I do it is like, Matthew, that if you're going to take a gallery that you shot over 8 hours of photos and edit them versus an 8-hour event like a wedding and edit that, like you're going to spend a lot more time editing video.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And it's not and the only reason is because you have to do everything you've got to do to a photo plus a bunch of other steps.
Sure.
You got to, with a photo, you're going to cull. You're going to cull your photos. You got to do that with all your footage. You got to sit down, look at all your footage, and you got to
choose
selects.
Music, which takes. I mean, that's
the fun part.
Yeah, well, maybe for you, you're good at music.
I know a lot of people dread it, but I think that's
I don't dread it as much as just the reality of it's just going to take several hours to find the right combination of songs for me.
Does it take? Is that your average?
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Justin? Like, it's like several hours,
really?
Maybe 4.
Wow.
I mean, and a lot of times we'll put music together and we'll start editing. We get like halfway through the video and we're like, this song isn't working. Let's go back. Let's go back and find a better song. But a lot of that maybe just stems from that's not a skill set that I have. Like, I'm not a musician. I don't play any instruments. I don't have a background in music.
I think it's a skill for sure.
So, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Some of the best filmmakers that I know, especially wedding filmmakers, have a background in music. Yeah. They come from a musical background.
Oh, there's so much in relation between playing an instrument and being a photographer or videographer. I mean, the instrument is like your camera.
So I think I have a good like storytelling. I'm good at storytelling, and
I think you are too.
That's like, oh, thanks. Yeah, that's like one of our strengths as wedding filmmakers. But music is not. I'm blending music and mixing songs and finding songs that sound good together with certain instruments and certain keys. Like that's not something that comes natural. It's something I have to work really hard on. And a lot of times I'm sending things off to my friend who is a good musician. I'm like, do these sound right together? Like, can you help me find, like, does this sound right? How do I blend these songs together? And he'll help me a lot. But shout out Pete.
Let's go, Pete. But yeah, I mean, I love the process. And I'd say it takes me on average between 30 minutes to an hour to find 2 tracks for a highlight film.
No. 3 to 4 hours.
And
probably. That's
because, and I feel that. And when I was earlier in my career, it definitely took me longer, but I think that I've just learned, I don't know, I think it's like has to do with my style too, because, the way it works for me is like being able to like shoot with a couple is like that helps me so much, because like I can know if that couple is romantic or goofy. If they're funny or if they're kind of shy, if they're, if they love classics like classic rock, or if they're really into country, or if they're modern and, that we can do something more like R&B type, vibe. So, and that's the thing too. I really love music, and I love jazz, R&B, soul, rock, hip hop, rap. I mean, I love most everything. And so I think that having like an ear towards what music sounds like, in today's era, because like I'm always, one thing about me is like, I work with a lot of traditional couples in the sense that, they want what would be considered like a traditional sound and a traditional vibe to their film. And I love doing traditional films. I think I'm good at them. Yeah. But I will also work with couples who don't like fit a traditional mold, and like.
Well, you do a lot of elopements. That's one of y'all's specialties.
A lot of elopement couples.
And that's in itself untraditional, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, we're not going to have the traditional wedding. We're going to run off and get married, and we want you to come film it. We're just bringing a handful of our closest friends and family with us. So like they're already bucking tradition. So it
Yeah.
makes sense that they would want to kind of buck the tradition as with their film as well.
Yeah, and so like with some of my couples, I have like a jazz sound, like a more of a jazz vibe, and I really enjoy being able to like explore untraditional genres with weddings, right? I think that's like one of the most fun challenges, like when I'm building an edit, is like for me, like I said, I love it because I love when I can find a song that is them. It's like it is the couple. It has enough variance to the melody, to where I can like edit fast and slow. I can make it dramatic or faster, But then it's like, man, I know this couple's gonna love it, like because it fits their personality. And I think I like films. Like I just did one. I shared it with you, Rachel and Danny. They were one of them.
Yeah, we can watch it in a minute. Yeah.
Yeah, if you'd like, we can totally do that. And they got married above Durango. We were talking about Durango earlier. They got married above a town called Silverton, in a ghost town called Eureka, at this incredible historic lodge called the Eureka Lodge that is from the 1800s, still standing not far from where my family mined. And they were married at this property, and they hired a local band from Durango called, oh, of course I'm going to forget the name right now. I'll remember it. Anyway, Desert Child. Please God, edit that out because they'll hate me forever.
Okay. So let's see what we can do.
Yeah. So anyway, so I shot with this local band from Durango called Desert Child up at the Eureka Lodge.
Okay.
And they were all like classic rock, desert rock type sound. The couple was super into it. So I ended up going with like a very...
I think I saw that. They were wearing like brown leather jackets.
Yes, yeah. So I went with like a desert rock vibe for their highlight film. And yeah, it was like, it's one of the it's like one of the fastest, snappiest, lack of a better word, rockiest films I've ever like produced for one of my couples. And
let's just watch it.
Yeah, let's just watch it.
I got to pull it up here. We'll do like a picture in picture here.
Okay.
So where'd you find this music?
I use MusicBed.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're the best. Yeah.
I think so. I mean, there's some other good options. There's another option I need to check out, but
we pretty much exclusively use MusicBed, and then sometimes we'll find some good stuff on like Soundstripe or Artlist, but
yeah,
for the most part, I've used original scores from other people. You can get permission sometimes asking artists, they're cool with it, but
that's like the exception for sure.
Yeah.
I wish it was easier.
I used to find stuff on, this is the band you're talking about?
Yeah, this is Desert Child.
How many people are at this wedding?
From this point forward,
less than 100.
Okay.
Maybe like...
Do you consider that an elopement? I mean,
it's like a medium-sized wedding.
Okay.
It's like it felt like a small wedding, even though there were so many people there. Yeah.
And what are you shooting on?
I shoot Sony. I shoot... this was filmed on a Sony A7 IV.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I actually... This is kind of... Well, yeah, this is part of my sauce, but... I primarily on gimbal, which is what a lot of these shots are. I primarily shoot a 25 millimeter prime.
Okay. 25 prime. Is that a vintage lens or is it?
Oh no, just like a fixed lens.
Okay.
Zeiss Batis 25 millimeter.
Okay.
And right. I render HD or 1080p, but I shoot 4K.
Okay.
Which allows me to crop in.
Yeah.
And so with that, I've got a small, tiny lens that's able to capture these incredible wide views, but I can also cut or zoom,
50%.
Yeah, it gives me like...
How far can you zoom in before you start to like feel like it's going to degrade it?
100%.
Okay. So
you can double it, up to double. Yep.
So that was like what was that? Like a 1 minute vignette, or like almost a 2 minute opening.
Part of my style as well is I tend to try and find...
It's like a chapters. Is that what you call them? That was chapter 1?
Yeah, like that's their more like cinematic intro.
Okay.
And then like the second half of second probably 2/3 of the film is what you would consider a more linear highlight film.
Okay. Yeah.
I usually pick 2 songs that complement each other but are different in pacing and speeds and stuff, so I can kind of use different editing techniques and
change
things.
the tempos. Yep.
Like with this one, it's very fast. We're doing a lot of fast cuts.
Yeah.
Which are fun.
And so are you doing video and Candace is doing photo for this?
So they had a photographer already
Okay.
hired. We do photo, video, or photo and video. So this one, I was just up there by myself. I actually shot this solo.
Okay.
But yeah,
That's hard to do.
it is hard to do. It's hard.
Do you like doing solo? Do you like shooting solo?
I don't mind it.
Okay.
Unless it's an event that's I know I'm gonna need help.
I find as long as I set the expectation with the client of what I can and can't get for them, I'm like, I can't have 4 cameras at the ceremony by myself. You know what I mean? I can have 2. And that's most I can do by myself.
I had 3, and
Okay.
that's the max I'll do solo.
Yeah.
Which is more than some will. And
yeah,
less
I'm
than
using,
others.
like I said, if during the ceremony, if I'm shooting solo, I do 2. I do 1 straight down the aisle, and then I'm on a gimbal with the rest of them. So I love this band. They got such a cool style.
Yeah, they're pretty sick. Those leather jackets are hard not to envy. I'm not gonna lie.
I know,
I mean, who
I'm
doesn't
just-
want to roll up to a Western wedding like looking just like that to work?
I'm gonna go get on Poshmark right now and see if I can find one. That's such a cool wedding.
You
All
know,
right, anything else we need to watch in here?
no,
How do you,
you
end
saw
this
the
thing?
meat.
How do you land the plane?
I'd like to talk about that.
God, they look so happy. Look like a pig in mud. I love that.
So a lot of my films, I like to look at it as like I'm telling 2 stories at once, and like one is the more auditory story.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's the vows, and it's like welcome to the wedding. So like I do a lot of my films will begin with like a greeting from like the officiant.
Yeah.
Or an ode to where they're getting married, right? And then like we'll move into the vows, and then the last section is, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the bride.
Yeah.
And and I like to have that. That's very linear, right? Like throughout the film, you're going to start with the welcome to the wedding, and at the end of the film, you're going to see, the climax of the film is like we're married, right? That's the most exciting moment
Yeah.
of a wedding day is
When
you're now
officially-
married.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that creates some of the best genuine reactions on a wedding day. And like as I ended that film with Rachel and Danny, I ended it with audio. Like the song ended, it was ending very hard, and then like they were walking out the aisle, and you're just seeing Danny's joy, hearing Danny's laugh. Like that's my favorite part about it. He's laughing, and then at the last guitar riff, it just cuts out, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm leaving you exactly in the perfect moment, and that's where I want to leave people.
Yeah. You don't feel obligated to. Do you feel obligated to include every aspect of the wedding day in the highlight, or are
I
you okay
don't.
with just leaving some of it out?
As time's gone on, I use less and less of a couple's day in their highlight film.
Mm-hmm.
And the largest reason for that is because I provide extra films that are more documentary.
Mm-hmm.
And I do a little bit of cinematic cutting, in them as well. Like, for example, like for the ceremony films that I deliver, I'll usually do like a cinematic intro into their first look with audio, multiple cameras, and then
That's
I'll
going above and beyond.
cut their processional a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That's the nuances of like the creator, right? Like
Sure.
I think that's one of the most interesting things to talk about with other wedding creators, video creators, is like, what do you include in the longer films? Like, how do you cut those? Like, what does that look like? Because I think it's interesting because that's the stuff that no one really sees other than the client.
Yeah.
For the most part.
My spiel is, hey, this is going to include all the usable footage from the whole day, set chronologically with music, and I watch it, and if I get bored, I just make it shorter. So if I'm watching a clip and it gets boring, we just cut it. And so, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it ends up being about an hour for your traditional
And that's
wedding.
a great way to do it.
And then
Yeah.
so it's going to be you guys getting ready. It's going to be your first look. Then it's going to cut straight to like ceremony. And I don't usually do like the whole processional. You know what I mean? Like I usually just cut to like the bride coming down the aisle. And
that's why I do.
I don't
like-
think you want to watch for like 10 minutes your bridesmaids and groomsmen walking down.
Yeah.
It just over and over and
Exactly.
over.
And I feel
might
the
show
same
like
way.
the flower girl and the ring bearer and then cut to. But I'm like, because it's boring watching your friends just walk down an aisle. You know what I mean? Like,
That's why I put some music to it. I might cut out like half of Up
make
to
it
half
I try to
of
make it
who walks
watchable.
in.
I want them to like sit down, and I don't want it to be 4 hours, but I don't want it to be 10 minutes.
Right.
I want it to be somewhere in the middle. I want it to be engaging. I don't want them to get bored watching it. You know, and I tell them it's like, this is the one where you're going to want to like crack a bottle of wine, sit down on your anniversary and watch this thing together and relive like, the best day of your life. That's kind of my spill, you know what I mean? And then the highlights video is like 5 to 7 minutes. That's, what we usually do. And it's what you are going to want to share across social media. This is the one that your friends will actually, this is what your friends are actually going to watch.
That one's for the gram, for the TikTok.
Yeah.
Tickety talk.
And so, but yeah, and then the longer one is just for you and maybe your mom and maybe your grandma,
Yeah. But I think it's very important still to make it like as easy to digest as a highlight film, right? Like it shouldn't be like boring ever. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we will record 3 hours of dancing, and it's like, but we really only need like 3 to 4 minutes. You just want the best shots of your friends being silly.
Yep.
You want to remember, oh God, Billy was so drunk. That's hilarious. Look at him on the dance floor. You know what I mean? He took his shirt off. Like that's the type of stuff that,
We edit that one out.
No, dude.
Billy might not make it. No. Well, depends.
Shirtless Billy on the dance floor.
How inebriated is Billy?
That's not my decision. I don't know. I didn't give him a breathalyzer, so I don't know. I'm guessing pretty, but it just depends. Every wedding's different. So, do you want to see my very first wedding film?
Yes.
I don't mind showing it, and it's like, I think my new work stands on its own, and people can see the evolution, right? So this is my first, and I didn't pick up a camera until I was 28.
Okay.
So I didn't film anything really until I was 28, and this is one of my first things to ever film. I saw a wedding.
That's crazy.
I saw some wedding videos that people were doing that were really cool. There were these people out in California, the Kana family, and I kind of ripped off everything for what they were doing because they were just amazing. They were blowing. I thought,
wait. So you were living in California at the time?
No. I just saw what they were doing.
Okay.
And I was like, I feel like I could do something like that.
So that's what inspired you to pick up a camera first?
Pretty much, yeah. I made some videos for this nonprofit I was working for, and got some like good like affirmation from that, and they were like, people walked up to me after this like banquet, and they're like, "Did you make that video?" And I was like, "Yeah." They're like, "I didn't know you could do that. That was really good." I was like, "Really?" I was like, it just made sense to me,
Hold up.
Okay.
That was my next project after the talent show. I was working with a nonprofit for a video for a bit.
That's so
What
funny.
in the world?
We have the same life, I think.
Pretty much.
We're the same person. And I tell everyone, like, I always felt like a creative person, but I just never found my outlet. I can't draw. I can't paint.
Get out of my life.
I'm not good at anything else. And then I started fiddling around with a camera, and it just, like, everything made sense. And I was like, this is easy. And people were like, how are you doing that? And I'm like, this is easy. I don't know. It's easy for me it just makes sense.
Well, yeah. And I did graphic design too. And all my friends were better graphic designers, but I was way better at film and things than they were. And it was the opposite. Yeah. I was always jealous of my graphic design friends. It's like, man, I wish I could make cool logos. I wish I could illustrate.
Yeah.
My friend Joe.
I have zero illustration, zero animation skills. I can't do any of that. Anytime we have to put text on a screen for a video, outsourcing that. You know what I mean? I'm just terrible
Send it
at
to me.
it.
I'm not great, but I do like, I know enough.
Than me.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm either, if I can't find like a pre-made template that I like and that I think the client would like.
Do you edit Premiere?
No.
Dang. Okay.
Sorry.
I was going to say, if you're Adobe, I could make you templates that you could just.
There's so many out there that you can just buy for $5,
right. You're right.
Okay. So the story behind this is I wanted to shoot a wedding. I thought I could do it, and I thought maybe I could like turn this into a job or something. Maybe I could make some side money off of this. And so saw some friends at a coffee shop, and I knew they were about to get married. And I was like, when are you guys getting married? They're like, oh, we're getting married in like 2 or 3 weeks. I was like, would it be weird if I like filmed your wedding? And they're like, actually, it'd be great because we had a videographer, but he had a friend who was a videographer, but he couldn't make it. And so, sure, I'm not charging them anything, and I get to show. I had no idea what I was doing. This is 2012, no clue what I'm doing.
I can relate. I never second shot for anyone, and it doesn't sound like you did either.
No, I didn't even know you could.
I didn't either.
How would
I didn't know
that?
anything.
I literally showed up like 10 minutes before the ceremony because I didn't think to show up and film them like getting ready. That wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
So I just like showed up 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I had all this like homemade gear. I had this like 2x4 that I put skate trucks on, with wheels.
Yeah.
And skateboard wheels on, and then like a tripod head, and like just drilled a hole and screwed it in and put my camera on it. So you'll see a couple of like dolly shots.
Oh, dude, I had a dolly too.
And it wasn't a dolly, it was just like a 2x4 with wheels on it.
That's amazing.
I had a shoulder rig. My first 30 weddings, I just had this cheap shoulder rig that, and I think I was shooting on a Canon 7D and I had one lens, just one. It was
Same
like
with me. I had a T4i, Canon T. Yeah. I relate. And I didn't have a dolly, but I had a tripod with like the slider on it.
Yep.
That I would lug. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I used to make my wife lug that thing around. She hated it. It weighed 1,000,000 pounds.
I know.
All right. So
Sliders.
This is in Fort Collins.
Okay.
And, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just shooting whatever the photographer is setting up. So you can pick this apart if you want. I don't think we can play the audio because it's like a Ben Rector song.
I got it.
Probably can't. You can hear it there. Hopefully it won't get flagged.
I liked your title.
We're gonna get copyright.
Name title.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Dude,
just
mine
some blue text.
Yeah, mine is also great.
I mean, it's just 1,000,000 shots of like the bridal party hanging out in this field.
Yeah, but even
a lot of
still,
grass,
though,
a lot of grass.
But you can see where your head is, right? Like I can see where like what you're doing.
I'm glad you can.
Right, we're gonna focus on what we're doing well. That's,
okay.
Oh yeah, we got the wave.
Oh yeah. Oh, the pan across, setting the stage.
Panning. That's not a bad shot.
Oh, look! Notice all the wobble.
I do see the warp.
A lot of post stabilization. A lot of warp stabilization. 2012, a lot of burlap, a lot of mason jars.
Man, I have seen a few first films.
Close up of the forks.
This is better than mine, dude.
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, I don't even know who these kids are. Who knows who these people are? The magazine rack in the background.
Everyone smile.
Look at the stabilization.
It's so good.
I mean, this is 5 minutes after I showed up. I threw my camera on my shoulder rig and just started shooting. So no, and these people, they're still good acquaintances of mine. I keep up with them. They're great people.
Good.
So.
Well, they got married in a very pretty building.
Yeah, that's Everyday. I think it's called Everyday Joe's. It's a coffee shop in downtown Fort Collins.
It's
a cool spot. They do a lot of cool stuff there. It's like a nonprofit coffee shop.
Cool, man.
Yeah, I think they employ like some. Yeah, I don't want to speak out of turn.
What are your thoughts watching this? Like, what's going through your head?
Highlights, just the blown out dress is so bad. I mean,
but I feel like don't they tell you to overexpose like with. But like,
I don't think so. Not with those old DSLRs. There was no data behind those. I couldn't recover those highlights. No, but there's
plenty of videographers I've met who are like
Dutch angles. I don't know why. But, no, I mean it was a great wedding to learn on because they had zero expectations. They were super fun.
It's goofy.
So easy. I did this one for
No, it's a great film.
I did this one for free. Posted, I edited it, slapped it together in like a day.
It's really great. I mean, I really love first films, they look home filmy, right? There's like a big time home film look to it, but it's also like that's cinematic, right? Like,
I mean, I guess there's some camera motion
because
I'm on the trolley.
It's more than just you like holding a camera and walking around, right?
Sure,
like,
certainly. But so I posted this, and then her friend called and was like, "Hey, I saw the video that you did for I was like, what do you charge?" And I was like,
oh man, that's the hardest question in the world.
I said $400, and she was like, "Great, I'm getting married like next month. You want to come out to Buena Vista?" I had to drive like 5 hours out to Buena. I was like, "Sure." So for $400, I like drove out there. I think I filmed for 12 hours.
Right, as you do.
I had no idea what I'm doing.
It's just an unlimited
her name was Brittany, and I can't remember his name, but that was my second wedding. Edited that one, posted it. And then her friend called me. I was like, "Hey, I'm getting married in Aspen next month. What do you charge?" I was like, $800? And she was like, "Great, I'll hire you." I was like, "Okay." I remember hanging up the phone and telling my wife, I'm like, "Do you think I could charge $1,000 for a wedding video?" She was like, "I don't know." And I just remember it was like so much money to me at the time. I was like, I'm going to be rich. This is amazing. I can charge $1,000 for a wedding.
I remember that ladder too. I started at 1,000 I don't know. They offered
They
1,000.
offered 1,000. Yeah.
And so then I just like in my head I was like, I guess that's my minimum full
that's
day
a good
rate.
starting
But
point.
I do remember the first time I charged $1,500. I remember the first time I charged $2,000 for a wedding day, right? And like I know, I mean, well, especially because it's like you're new and it's like so.
Flat Face Films. That was my
Yes.
original business name.
Yes.
So bad. All right.
Oh man,
It's out there, man.
that was beautiful.
I'll post that somewhere in the show notes. But yeah, oof, that was bad.
Okay, but how long did it take you? How many years or months from that point did it take you to feel
2016.
confident and like, you know what, like you're not like pretending, to lose imposter syndrome? Maybe.
I didn't feel confident until 2016 probably. So
And
that was at the
said-
end of 2012, I think. So then
4 years.
I started shooting like 25, 30 weddings a year right after that. Like
Yeah,
2013,
I
I
was
had
the same
like 30
way.
weddings.
Yeah,
you
there you go.
It just blew up. And
all video, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
rip, dude, rip.
I've never done photo. I do photo, but it's just not something I feel confident in. And honestly, I take a different approach. Like I don't want to offer photo because a lot of photographers refer me, and I work really well with them.
Yeah.
And so I feel like if I offer photo, that's maybe stepping on their toes a little. So
Well, it's interesting that you say that because I started with video before I added photo. So like I was a foster
but a lot of
creative.
photographers are adding video now.
Yeah, I did it backwards. Yeah. So like I started full-time foster creative like weddings in the beginning of 2017 in Colorado on the Eastern Slope. And it took me about 4 years probably to feel like I had a grip on it.
Okay.
And at that
That's about right
point,
for me, 3 years.
I think about the 4 year mark, I shot one photo wedding, elopement actually. And I was just like, I wanted to just do elopements with photography, and I didn't really open it up to weddings because elopement days are very different, very different, and they're also all outdoors. And I didn't have as much flash photography experience at the time, so it was just like less of a challenge to get decent work.
Sure.
I shot one wedding. Oh man, I swear I was more nervous shooting that wedding photo than I was the first time I shot video.
Same.
And oh man, I was yeah. I brought a friend along to help me.
It's like you can kind of cover up some mistakes in video, right? Like if you miss something, you're like, well, I just won't include that in the video.
Well, it's also like you're the photographer, you're the director. When you're a videographer, you can get away with piggybacking, for lack of better words.
You don't have to pose. You don't have to know as much about like posing and things like that. Yeah.
Right. But it's like the first time, and it's like, and there's no videographer. It's just me doing photo. And I did bring a friend along who had experience because I was like, your job is to get whatever I'm not getting. Like whatever I'm not, like if you think of it, you get it.
Yeah.
Because like I don't know enough yet to feel confident. But after I shot that first one and we did a great job, and I still have some of those photos on like my website because it was good work. Like it was up in Steamboat.
Yeah, I think one of the up until very, very recently, I had a wedding from like 2018. I feel like you asked that question. I would say 2016. I feel like I found my voice.
Yeah,
I found like my unique style and voice and how I wanted to capture it, and it was mine. I wasn't copying what other people were doing. I wasn't guessing. I was like, this is a unique thing that no one else is doing. I mean, I used to color grade before LUTs existed. I would color grade. Dude, I had this most ridiculous coloring process. I would export the whole video as an image sequence. So every frame was a picture, and it would be like 50,000 photos. Oh. I would import it into Aperture on my Apple computer, and I would use Visco filters.
Oh,
and I would apply these Visco. I would color grade one frame and then copy and paste that to the rest of the frames. And then I would export it would take all night. I would export all 50,000 photos or however many it was back out into a folder on a hard drive, and then I would use compressor on my Mac to take all those images and compress them back into a 24 frames per second video, and then I would lay that on top of the audio tracks. So it would take me 2 whole nights because one night to export and then one night to import, and then I would spend a whole day like editing, color grading in effectively Lightroom.
But you know what? That's how much you loved your client.
Yeah, dude. Well, it gave me such a unique look. It was that Visco film look this is
That is true.
2014, 2015, before anyone else was doing it.
I mean, that's true.
So I had my own
I guarantee
look.
that maybe you were the only person doing that workflow.
Well, I figured out how to do it because someone else had made a tutorial. It was on Vimeo, and like they had done like a travel video, and someone had asked them like, how'd you get those colors? And he's like, oh, here's how I did it. He made a video about it, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna steal that and use it, because I didn't come up with that. But I was the first one to do it with weddings that I knew of, to edit and color grade like that, because there was no like LUTs. LUTs are like a thing in the last like 3-4 years, So yeah, that's what I was doing, man. It was crazy. It was stupid. It took forever, but it's what I had to do to, I feel like, help my work stand out and make a career out of it. And that's when I went full time. I was working for
But
Apple
that's what it takes. And I wanted to say too, I moved to Colorado. I moved back from Lincoln to Boulder at the time, at the end of 2016. Okay. And I met you. I don't remember specifically. Was it one of Adam Bradley's wedding films? I would say, because I was really, I mean, shout out to Adam Bradley. I love you.
Adam. I
love you. I'm looking at every camera.
Fan favorite.
Yeah, but he in 2017 hosted like a meetup among the very, very small group of what was then, Colorado wedding videographers living on the Eastern Slope. And I met you, and I met like a lot of people that I'm still like pretty close with today. Like a lot of really, and a lot of people
who do what we do and understand it and understand that world.
But so. Adam, I believe Adam has an eye for talent, and I think that like he is able to see, and like definitely like in a big way like mentor like up and coming videographers and things. And also he's got a talent for like community and like bringing people together, and I think that was everything. Like I remember sitting in 2017 in the fall in Adam Bradley's basement, which he did have a theater down there, which is pretty cool. And watching our wedding films with truly everyone in that room being better than me, and I felt man, I had the worst anxiety, and everyone was so nice.
I was so scared to show your video and get it critiqued in person. Oh, that was.
And thinking back, I remember the film I showed.
Everyone was so gracious,
and I don't even like that film like anymore. I'm like, why did I even like show that?
No.
Like, anyway,
you just. It's the best that you had at the time, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, probably. So. It wasn't much better. But anyway, man, I improved. Over that next year, I improved so much. Yeah. And a lot of it was because eating some humble pie at Adam's and like seeing like, man, I have a lot of work.
Well, he's so good. Yeah. And so like you
and
compare your work to his.
And back then,
why am I even doing this? Yeah.
Back then too, I mean, like there were so few people that were like on, and it's not like there's still today a lot of people on that level, but...
I try to always I try not to compare them. I think comparison is a thief of joy, but you shouldn't compare yourself.
Admiration, though.
That's true. You can have admiration, but you shouldn't compare yourself to others. You need to compare yourself to who you are today, who you were yesterday. And if you stop evolving and you stop getting better, that's when you should have a hard look in the mirror. But I think doesn't do any good to compare yourself to others, especially other wedding filmmakers, because there's always going to be a better wedding filmmaker.
Oh, yeah.
And it's also very subjective. You know what I mean? It's like what one person thinks is amazing. A couple might look at that and be like, that's terrible. Like, I would never want my wedding video to look like that. I want it to just look like this. And you know what I mean? And I've had people send me examples, and I'm like, this is what you're going for? I'm like, this is so basic and simple, but like, that's what they want, So
that's the hardest thing about starting is like, when you're getting better, like sometimes you want to like get creative and like really try something.
I've tried things.
You want to try something out, but like you are so scared to like deviate from what the couple is expecting.
True.
But even if it's like, in your opinion, a better
you can always give the couple a clean version, you know what I mean, and go back and edit a version of things.
Yeah, and I've done that too.
Yeah.
And like
make the director's cut.
Yeah. And I've been doing this for like 7 years. Wedding film for like 7 years, and I would be lying if I've never had a couple come back and say we like it, but the music is.
Do you offer revisions? Because that's a big question in the industry as well. Like, do you?
Yeah.
So upfront, you let them have revisions?
Have a definition. I have 2 classes of revisions, and this is contractual. And there's minor revisions and there's major revisions, and anything that is music related fits into the major revision category. I offer a round of minor revisions to my clients, and that includes pretty much everything that's not rebuilding a film, right? Like if you want me to remove, add, swap clips, you know, a lot of times, like mostly when I get revisions requests, it's in like ceremony chapters
Okay.
because they were looking for a face they didn't see. A lot of times they're like, do you have any more shots of my mother, or, you know,
Can
things
I-
like that.
Can I pitch you an idea, a thought, and you tell me what you think?
Yeah.
I don't offer revisions. I haven't in probably 5 or 6 years. And I've had one person in the last 5 or 6 years ask for revisions.
That's awesome.
One person. And I think it's psychological. I think if you up front, if they know they can get revisions, then when they sit down and watch their video for the first time,
they're going to be nitpicking.
they're looking the first time
Not
they watch
nitpicking,
it.
sorry,
but they're looking for what they want to change.
Yes.
If
It's
it's
more
not-
of like a presentation, like
I think
to a
of
client.
it,
Like,
and I just
yeah.
say, hey, here's your videos, enjoy them.
Yes.
Peace, you know,
Yes.
and let me know if you need anything else. But I'm not offering revisions. I don't do revisions. If they've come back to me and they're like,
Of course.
hey, there's not one person came back. The one revision was there weren't very many shots of either of our moms.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back and looked and I was like, I just didn't have a lot. And I also didn't include a lot. And I was like, okay, well, I can fix that. You know what I mean? That's not a big revision. That was the one revision. And I went back and, you know, and offered that. So it's like,
Yeah.
and I was fine with making that. I did ask them, I said, okay, if it's important to you, I want you to watch the film and give me some timestamps of where your mom is and her mom is. And and what shots I could include. And I kind of put the onus back on them. And that was, 8 months ago, and they haven't gotten back to me. So it's like,
Yeah,
if it's important
right.
to them, I think they would take the time to do that. That tells me it wasn't maybe really as important as they thought, or they could live without it. Or maybe they'll come back in a couple months
Right.
and give me that. And I'm happy to make those changes if and when they tell me, what shots to include. But so I would, I mean, unless you just like doing revisions, which I don't know, when I give them the film, I'm like, look, we've poured 30 hours of editing into this thing at this
Yeah,
point, 25
totally.
to 30 hours. We know every single clip. We've
Yep.
tried a million different iterations of this. This is the best that we think we can do right now. And, we could sit on it another month and try to perfect it, right?
Yeah.
It's never going to be perfect, but this is the best that we can do. And I think that it is a great representation of our work. And we think that you're going to like it. And we think that you're going to love it.
Yeah.
And here it is. And don't watch it thinking, oh, what do we want to change? We'll just watch it and enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, it takes me, if I'm going as fast as I can without like rushing, like if I'm making sure I'm following
Yeah.
all the steps, if like 3 days is pretty fast, but that's like 3 days of like continuous editing on my behalf. But that's after my wife is done culling the footage, finding selects for me, and
So really, it's probably more like 4 or 5.
yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's a week.
It is.
It's
It's
a week
about
for
a
us.
week.
I would say it's like,
And that's what I want to say is like, hey, it's very common for it to take about like a full work week to turn around
that's
a
what
start to finish
people are
shot
like,
project.
wedding video is so expensive. It's too expensive. It's like, well, that's because we can only take so many. You know what I mean?
Well,
like,
I feel so sorry for like people who are starting, who are like not charging their worth,
Yeah.
who feel that they're unable to charge their worth. Couples.
we all
I mean,
start
they're-
somewhere.
Yes, yeah, and I think that there's an unfortunate situation that sometimes happens where couples will budget for photo and video, but they'll allocate most of their budget towards photography, and then they'll book videographers. The videographers will get got like, well, we only have $800 left for
Yeah.
our budget. We don't have more, and they'll just go, okay. They need the work.
They
They're
need the
free.
experience.
It's better to make money than to sit on your
I'm
butt.
not mad about that. Sure.
Yeah, and I'm not mad about it, but I wish that more people understood how much more time goes into making a video.
I just tell people you get what you pay for. You get what you pay for.
It's true.
You know what I mean? And the $800 videographer is going to miss key moments. You know what I mean?
or
It's
he's not going to have enough time to sit down or experience
Or
to
she,
make
yeah.
it. Yeah,
Yeah, you get what you pay for. Every now and then you might get lucky, and you might find
Oh,
someone
yeah.
who's really talented and really good and can produce an amazing wedding film.
You have to
for
dig.
really cheap. For really cheap, you might get lucky.
Yeah.
Chances are 9 times out of 10,
It could be you or me.
Yeah.
But even then, we're
Oh,
not
yeah, but-
amazing.
No, those were, but yeah. So it's the luck of the draw. All right, we got to land this plane, man.
All right.
All right, let's do some rapid fire questions.
Oh,
You ready?
let me
We're just gonna land this plane. Make it.
me get ready
end on
here.
a fun note.
let me just
Lighthearted. Okay, buckle
all
up.
right. Okay.
Get adjusted. You
All right.
ready?
Hit me.
All right. Favorite vacation spot?
Telluride, Colorado.
Oh man. Okay, 2 hours away. That's crazy. What is
6.
Telluride? 6 from here? It's 6.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess you got to go. I don't get out that often. I was thinking Buena Vista. All right. Okay. Live concert or a day at a theme park?
Concert.
Okay.
Without a doubt.
All right. You said Sony, right? I asked Canon or Sony. We already crossed that. A day of hiking or a day of skiing?
Oh, skiing.
Skiing is like your favorite. That's your favorite thing in the world, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's cool. I like that. Do you have any other tats?
Yeah, I've got Sneffels, which is near Telluride.
Okay.
This is the mountain my wife and I were married
Dude, you
under.
love Colorado.
I do love
I like
Colorado.
but you love Colorado.
Yeah, like I would be in a relationship with it
if you weren't married.
I wasn't married. That's right.
All right. You get to rewatch a movie series and experience it for like it was the first time. A series.
Can it be TV or movie or?
Sure.
Okay.
Dealer's choice. What is it? What are you going to experience for the first time again?
Breaking Bad.
Yeah, that's everyone's favorite. I feel like everyone wants to experience.
Breaking Bad.
It's so good. It's so good. All right, you're reincarnated as an animal. What animal are you coming back as? You get to choose.
Cat. A house cat.
A house cat. Ooh,
My
that's good.
house
Just
cat.
a lazy house
My
cat.
cat.
I like that. All right, do you think there's life in the universe outside of us?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
I feel like it's too big not to. All right.
If we're just humans, man, there could be gods. I think there probably is. I don't know. I'm agnostic. That's but yeah, I mean, what do we know? What do I know? I don't know.
Little. Yeah, we can't barely see outside of our
And I don't know if I would like come here, if I was, maybe I'm from a civilization world that's got it more together. I'd be like, well, I'm not going to come down there. You know, I get it.
Yeah. Why? What's down there? We got it.
Politics,
good up here.
let's get away from that.
All right, you got to change your first name forever. What are you choosing?
Steve.
No, that's cheating.
I can't. I'm like a third generation.
You got to pick a different something else.
Oh, Matthew.
Oh, shucks. All right. Who's the most important person in your life besides Candace?
Well, I would say my dad, even though he's passed.
Okay.
If that's allowed.
I will allow it. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. Two more deeper ones. Are you where you want to be in life?
Oh gosh. In some ways, yes. In other ways, I still have a lot of work to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll leave it at that. What do you think is the key to living a good life?
I think allowing yourself to the best of your ability, which is, physical, income, best of your ability and resources to live doing what you love to do. That's complicated.
What brings you joy?
Yeah, just doing what brings you joy. It's like I am incredibly fortunate to have found a career that pays well enough to where I can work full-time, sustain, my family. That also allows me the freedom to be in places like Telluride. That is my favorite place. I mean, yeah, I am so thankful to work in the mountains of Colorado and like the surrounding regions. And I mean, in a perfect world, I like flying out. I like going visiting cool places and shooting, but I'm more happy. Yeah, I'm more happy to stay here because I love my family and my family is my wife and my pets, right? Like my dog and my cat. But like seriously, I just really I'm always happiest when I'm with them. And so, having the ability to not have to be on the road more often than I need to is key. Last year, I learned a really hard lesson in anxiety and depression by pushing myself beyond my limits.
So you learned what not to do to have a good life.
Yes. And unfortunately, that's not overbook myself in a lot of ways. But here we are again in another year. And I'm looking at my calendar like, oh, okay.
It's hard to turn down that money. So
yes.
All right. Well, let's tell people where they can find you online, website, at your socials, all that.
Yeah. So my company, I'm Steven Foster, and I own and operate Foster Creative. Our website's wearefostercreative.com. Mm-hmm. Our socials are at wearefostercreative. You can find us on Instagram mainly, also Pinterest. We don't do the tickety talk thing. I'm not into short form. I like to create long form stuff. That's mostly it.
Cool.
But we should be, whatever.
Yeah.
you know.
There's so many platforms. It's hard to keep up with all
Yeah.
of them. So.
I will also mention, can I plug?
Sure, go for it.
This is my plug. All right. So if anyone inquires in the next 2 months, so before April, 30, 31?
Sure. What you
Before
your
May
business,
1st.
you get to make it up.
I don't know what April is. Okay. So if you inquire before May 1st and mention this podcast interview,
Okay.
I'll give you a free Super 8 film upgrade if you book videography with us.
Dude,
that's
Super 8 is cool.
Yeah, it's for those who don't quite know, it's analog, real film, authentic film from 1960s camera technology that I'm able to digitize and add to your films.
It looks really cool. You
a
have to
really
check it
cool
out. Well,
upgrade.
that's a tease, so go check it out on his website. 'Cause you got the video up on your website.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I've got,
Go check it out, his 8mm film. So
Yes.
awesome.
And I will also say, if you love outdoors, wedding or elopement, and like you have a genuine want for like a really good wedding photo or video product, like get in touch with me, right?
Yeah.
Like I want to meet you like probably where you're at. Like, look, I'm not like slinging deals and stuff, but like I love working with good people. And like if you want to work with me and like you want to work in like the mountains or somewhere, you know, beautiful in the desert, like get at me.
You're the guy.
You're
the man.
You are my client. I need you. I love you. That's it.
It sounds like they need you too. Awesome, man. Well, thanks for your time today. I appreciate you coming down and being
Appreciate
here
you, man.
and
Thank you.
hopping on the pod.
Thanks,
So,
man.
Awesome. All right. Take care, everyone.